This is Every Widow Thing.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Every Widow Thing. Today, we're going to be talking about holidays. I know, obviously.
Are we going
to talk about the holidays?
Wait, what? We are going to revisit kind of what I think we touched on in an earlier episode, how we tackled holidays in the beginning after our husbands died. Now we're checking in on where we are and how the holidays look a little bit different with big kids. Some are at home, some are coming home from college, and just how things shift a little bit when, maybe you're not doing the Elf on the Shelf anymore, or
I actually find
maybe people are doing the Elf on the Shelf. I don't know.
I bring mine out.
Okay.
Mine is now in my wreath on the front door.
I had never heard of it until I moved here. So we do like the German traditions, put the boot out in early December, and then he gets the boot. But you fill it with treats.
Yeah.
So it's a cool tradition.
That. I remember that, hearing that story.
You put the candles on the tree.
I was crazy I didn't want the Elf on the Shelf at all because I was like, I already got too much on my plate.
A lot of extra.
But then social media, I was seeing all the hilarious things that people were doing with their elf. And I was like, oh, I'm in. And so I went a little off.
Yeah,
I would think you would love it.
Off the trails. And then I would ask Hunter occasionally, like, would you just, hide the elf for me? And the next morning it would be just like upside down in the kitchen. And I'm like, really?
Or he's at a bottom of a bottle.
Yeah.
Social media kind of screwed it up for me, too, because some nights I just was tired and I didn't want to do an elaborate something or other. And I would just move her around. And the kids would be like, our elf is boring. She doesn't do anything. She just moves from room to room. And I'm like, okay.
She's tired.
Toby was pretty creative. Toby had the creative ones, and I was the one that just moved them around.
I put mine. I thought it would be great to put it in one of the lights that's on the stairwell. So like it's hiding in the light on the stairs.
Oh no.
And then someone turned the light on and then we're all sitting in the den and I'm like, what is that smell? My elf was burning.
Yeah.
And I had to run and grab it. But it was great because then I put the elf in the freezer to heal for a couple nights and I didn't have to move her.
Went to the trauma unit.
And then I just wrapped her up with bandages.
Oh my God.
And then,
hilarious.
it's a great
Towards
story.
the very end of Jolly's tenure, I was still doing it for my youngest, Karis, and the big kids would kind of get involved sometimes. And there was one fateful night where, she was already kind of too old, but we were still going through the charade. And so it was in her room. Jolly was in her room. And I had been out, probably with you guys, drinking.
Having some holiday cheer.
Probably.
Don's Depot.
And I, get home and I'm like, oh my God, the elf. And so I stagger into her room and I thought I was being quiet, but I go and it was literally like a freeze frame. Like I'm moving the elf and she wakes up.
And you're like,
and I just dropped it and and she goes back to sleep and I'm like, oh, I don't think she saw it. Sure enough, at breakfast, it was like, I had this dream that you were in my room moving the elf around. And I was like, what? What are you talking about, girl?
Have these kids had to have therapy over this yet?
No, but that's how
we
ended. That's how Jingle ended her reign over Christmas. Was I decided that it would be cute to have her in Campbell's room, and she toilet papered his room.
We did that.
He was so freaked out that the elf was in his room. He was like, "You got to get her out."
See, you can see how they would be like that. Ryder did that about
dolls
Santa.
are scary. And then,
but I don't like
he's
that.
She's like looking around or doing weird things in the bathroom.
Santa's coming down the chimney. Ryder was really little, and that really freaked him out. He was like, "Mom, we've been burning the fire. He's going to come down the chimney." And so I was like,
and you're like, yeah, magic.
Some kids they don't, but yeah, he worried about
leave,
that.
The footprints of the ashes from the Santa would move the fireplace screen and leave little boot footprints.
Some people did it outside. I've learned all of this since moving to Texas.
I think it's harder now, especially because there's not that quote unquote magic from the little kids anymore. I find it a little more difficult to bring around the holiday cheer.
Yeah, I think it looks different. I think the one thing that I just wanted to say at the start of the episode is that, when you're widowed, the holidays are every year. They come around all the time. It's not something that you kind of get over or through or past, and especially when you have your kids full time. Every year, it's like, what's the plan? And I know many of us start to think about it even in the summer. We're like, okay, what is Christmas going to look like? What's Thanksgiving going to look like? Maybe for some of you out there, things have shifted a little bit with your in-laws, or maybe you're still with your in-laws, or I know Frank and I used to kind of trade off. And all of that obviously changes when the makeup of your core family changes. And so, here we are 12 and 9 and 5 and 7 years later, still kind of grappling with what it's going to look like, when our kids come back from college, and how are we going to spend time together and celebrate.
It is interesting about the in-laws, and it's something that you really have to be mindful of, still including them sometimes. I can't be doing Christmas with my side of the family every year. It's not, if I get along with my in-laws and I'm trying to include them, you want to make sure that you give them some time.
Do you get them all together?
No, I have maybe once. I think the first Thanksgiving after Hunter died, we did get everybody together.
We did too.
But after that, again, my family is loud and can kind of take the attention, and they saw my family more. So
all of them are
now they're
local
here. Now his parents moved here. I can't remember when. And that was another thing that I was like, when they first said, we're going to move here, we're going to move closer to you. I was really against it. I didn't tell them that at the time, but I was nervous that I was going to have to take on their grief. It was going to be too much for me.
You were just protecting yourself and your emotional capacity, right?
Right. But it ended up being great.
Mine was in Germany. And,
right.
And my parents were in Mississippi, and Oliver liked having it at our house. He was like, I'm tired of always going somewhere else for Christmas. But with only 3 people, now down to 2, it just didn't feel like Christmas to me.
No.
If there weren't a lot of people around.
Right.
So it's always challenging that, some Christmases we would go to Germany, and that always felt a little bit sad for me. And then he would go to my house, and like yours, it's chaos. We have a lot of people that come to our Christmases. It's not as much like that anymore. I wish it was.
People, and this just happens when you're first a widow and young children, people are keeping you in their thoughts, and they're like, oh, we should include them, or we should invite them to this or that, or help with the kids, or come over on Christmas Eve and put together stuff. But as the years go on, you're not always in the forefront of people's minds. And the holidays is hard for a lot of people that don't have loss. It just can be a difficult time. So as the widow, I think it's important to feel comfortable to just say, hey, could I be included? Or hey, which is a little bit awkward, but people aren't thinking about it. And lots of times if you say, hey, do you mind if we tag along? Then people would be like, oh my gosh, of course.
But it's because they have their own stuff. Like I poured out all my stuff to you guys the other night, but I mean, everybody's busy. I know what I'm telling you. You get it, but B, there's no one there going to save me. It's just not. That's on you. So we have to be realistic about that. I think some of our viewers, and whether this makes it in there or not, but I've noticed that they think we're out partying all the time together. I'm like, it's not like that. We do the best we can, but we're all busy, jobs, and so it's not like every time something comes up, you're being rescued, because that's just not happening. I don't want them to feel like they're the only ones that are alone, because they're not.
Right.
I feel that way a lot of the time. And it's something that I have to learn to sit in, and I do something about it some of the time. I don't know about how you guys feel, but there are a lot of times I wish someone would come and rescue that. But that's just not the way the world works.
I think that at least for me, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother them. This is their family time too. Yeah. And oh, I don't want to be a downer, blah, blah, blah. But if you never ask, then you'll never know. Yeah, I mean, at some point, you don't have to sit at home feeling alone. And I don't necessarily think that it's rescuing. It's just, hey, I want to be around people.
Hey. So what does it look like in terms of the big kids, Holly? Like, because you've got two, one coming home from college and he's got a serious girlfriend.
Like, I've already started to have anxiety over when that happens. And
when to include her?
No. When my boys want to go be with their girlfriends and I'll be coming to your house,
the other
Whitney.
way. I was like, you just need to invite first.
It's
to come
usually
along.
the girls' house they end up going to.
I guess it can be like that. Yeah.
When they get married, even more so.
Well, and that's one thing that honestly I used to get upset about with Hunter's mom because she didn't have daughters. She had 2 boys and she learned early on to assert herself. And I would get a little annoyed, but now I totally understand because if you don't, then you get pushed aside because the woman's family, the wife's family does kind of have a little more
Toby's
access.
Same with us. That's how it was.
Yeah. So you got to set it up. That's why you start planning what your holiday is going to be like in the summer.
Well, I always get like in around October, I'm like, I kind of start spiraling and like, why am I in a bad mood? And I end up back in therapy. It's this time of year. And then everyone's like, what are we doing for Christmas? What are we doing for Thanksgiving? And
I don't think it helps that I was in Target the week of Halloween trying to buy some Halloween stuff, and it's already all Christmas.
I know. Costco too.
There isn't even, there's like maybe one turkey platter.
Halloween candy.
They've skipped over Thanksgiving completely.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's already Christmas. It's October, and here in Austin, it's warm. It's like 80 degrees out, and it's all Christmas in there. And then, like, if you're already worried about it, it's like, well, hurry up and get your tree up now and get it going. And
people start posting pictures of their Christmas trees.
Just like, have a second. Like, we're still
In Hyde Park, they just leave the lights up all year round. They don't have to worry about that seasonal thing.
We still have pumpkins.
Flip them on.
My kid was going trick or treating like in that week, and then it was all Christmas. I was trying to find like a little outfit for the dogs. For Halloween.
You should have been doing that back in June.
I should have been doing that in like July for sure. Yeah.
What's wrong with you? You're terrible.
That's why I like traditions. Like, okay, every Christmas Eve, we have a family get together.
I think it's nice that you have them all here in that way. I do, because that's a lot less stressful.
Your house.
Yeah, you can, mine has changed almost every year. Like there's not been, that is since Oliver died, there's not been a traditional anything. Like I know Keira's real big on the trips. I did that in the early days and then it just was it felt daunting. Like I had to start in June or July and I was like, forget this. So I finally started just simplifying and then I realized Ryder was just happy to, see family a little bit and then just be at home and relax. He was enjoying just relaxing. He's just like his dad that way. I wanted more fun. Like I needed more like activity because that's what I grew up with. But I've had to learn to adapt almost yearly. It's really not, it's not something I look that much forward to. And I try to remember what is the reason for the season. Okay, I got to readjust my focus. But at the same time, when you're seeing all the ads on TV and the Hallmark TV shows, it's just like, oh God, I'm trying not to be one of those that just get me through it. Yeah. But I don't want to just get through the season. It's been 12 years now. I should be really trying to just savor every moment, but it's very hard.
I think there's a lot of pressure of like.
Absolutely. And I think everyone feels that way. I think all mothers feel that way. Don't you? Didn't you feel that way before your husband's died? I felt.
Yeah, but we talked about this. Yeah.
It's like it was nice to have help. Like when Toby was here, like, it was like, let's put the tree up. Let's pour,
I still do that though. Why not? Why not have that?
I know. It's just different that.
Yeah, you're the only one drinking.
You're the only adult.
No, not that one. But I mean,
we're all drinking. The dog included.
Dogs are drinking.
Her
dogs are definitely drinking.
Elf on the shelf.
I mean, they'll put a few ornaments on the tree, but I mean, it's daunting getting the fake tree out of the closet and putting it together. And then half the lights don't come on. And I'm like, damn it. What, like I just then you're like stressed about the lights, and then
the lights are the hardest
then
part. It's a 2-person job.
Boys give up, but you don't have the husband that's like, I'm going to run to the hardware store and do this. And then also like Christmas shopping. It's like, it was a tag team thing. It's easier now, I feel like, with older kids than it was
yeah, you have to control your expectations a little bit. They don't, just like you said, especially the college kids. I think they're excited to just come home, be home, and see their friends,
cook and like do their laundry. They want to sleep in. They want to see their friends.
I don't want to cook.
I was trying to carry on traditions, like everybody getting together to decorate the tree together. And this was even after, Frank passed away. Like I was like, we're all going to have a night. And then it just gets harder and harder when your kids are in activities and sports and theater and whatever it is to get that night planned. And so I don't know, maybe it was like just last year or the year before, I just did the tree. Like I just decorated it and did the whole thing. And the kids were like, wait, we didn't get to, and I'm like, I have been trying to get you guys to put an ornament on for 3 years.
Well, I could have Ryder decorate it when he was little. I let him, I guess he was right after Oliver died, so he was 6. I let him do it. All the ornaments were like the bottom quarter of the tree.
Sure. That was the
all
best.
The way around. It was so sweet, but I was like, wow, that tree looks goofy.
It's a little heavy on
They
the
were
bottom.
all on the bottom.
Because I've always done not a live tree, a real tree.
Me too.
And so you can't have that thing for weeks on end because it just starts to look real dried out. And
it looks freeze-dried.
And the pine needles and all of it. So I try to get mine kind of closer too, so it's sort of fresh. But I guess if you're doing,
I think it's time for a fake
I do
tree.
it the week after. I do it a couple of days after Thanksgiving, and it really does. I have to just really water it a lot, but it does look bad. It's made it every year till New Year's Day.
By New Year's, though, I'm like, nobody strike a match in the house. Like,
seriously,
this thing's going up.
Y'all keep it up until New Year's?
Well, Ryder's birthday's New Year's Day.
Yeah, you keep it to New
Year's.
Yeah,
but then put out some birthday celebration.
We always had it like all the way through New Year's, so none of this early. Like going up in Thanksgiving, the tree came in later and stayed through New Year's.
Christmas Day, I'm dragging that thing out to the
Christmas
street.
Day.
Maybe the day after, but by Christmas Day, you're throwing out all the Christmas wrap.
Taking the tree down.
They're all their gifts
down.
She's
I got this.
Gift.
No, the brand. Everybody take an ornament off.
Look, Christmas is over.
Every
kids.
present, you have to take an ornament.
Oh man. No, I just feel like if it's been up that long, they've had plenty of time.
Plenty of time to admire. And
Christmas afternoon. What else are you going to do? Let's wrap this stuff up.
Catch a flight out.
I know.
That's true.
I travel now. I know I've mentioned this before. I usually travel somewhere in there. Some years we've actually left like Christmas Day. So we've opened up gifts and then flown somewhere. It's actually a great day to travel, Christmas like afternoon.
Although aren't the people at the airport and flying the plane grumpy because they're there on Christmas?
Everybody's happy.
I would love to start the tradition of traveling on Christmas Day, especially because now the kids don't need all the money I spent on toys, and they don't really need anything. It's like, I don't know about you guys, but for my kids, it's like pulling teeth to get them to send me any ideas.
I asked for ideas yesterday, and the only thing one of them sent me is shoes, and I'm like, well, I'll buy you shoes, but that's
no. My daughter just asked for some panties, and I was like, I'll get you that.
Yeah, that kind of comes with
panties and socks.
Definitely,
that's kind of my job, like to keep you in.
See,
basics.
I'm the opposite now. I'm like, I need, because her birthday is in December, and then Christmas, and then Campbell's is in January. So I'm like,
hard.
Yeah,
you did not plan that right.
Travel related presents when we do the trip. Like the trip is the gift,
right?
The big gift. Like this year, we're going to Costa Rica. And I usually give, like new ski goggles, or we got luggage. We did luggage one year because we went to Spain. And so, then they get little travel kind of knickknack gadgets.
And
or
you're creating
something
a memory.
To the trip.
That's going to way outlast some socks and panties. Except for some of my panties are pretty old, I'm just going to tell you.
Well, that'll be on the dating episode.
We are going to
We're going to go buy some new panties.
Think about
Whitney.
it. I mean, think about it for a minute. How old are your bras?
I don't want to think about your panties.
Not mine, yours. Oh, trust me, you do.
I don't want to think about your old panties.
Not mine. I meant
We
y'all.
get back to traveling. No, I'm kidding.
Anyway,
I think traveling can be fun because it does feel like a little bit of escape from grief, but I still have family I have to see. So, and they don't live here. So we have to use part of that time to go and do that.
What's y'all doing this year, Holly? Because I
well,
my trip.
My mom likes it to be like it's always been. And I don't, without Toby and my dad here, it's not like it's always been. So it's really hard for me. We're going to be at our house for Christmas and then we're traveling.
Where are you guys going?
That's right.
You're going to
Colorado.
Yeah. Nice.
That'll be nice.
That's a good spot.
But it's also like, we had so many amazing Christmases and all the memories were perfect. And, like being at my parents' or at my sister's or wherever was all perfect and great. But I want to create new memories for them together because they're going to be off with their girlfriends.
they're going to be gone soon. I just think the message that I like to give myself and to anybody listening is don't put too much pressure on yourself to create a perfect memory. I mean, we've talked about this. When I travel, I try to make it perfect and then I get cussed out in the Louvre. It's like nothing is going to go according to plan. So you have to be able to just say, you know what? It's the holidays. We're going to spend time together and it is what it is.
Yeah, I think you just got to sneak in some good moments. I mean, my mom's in memory care. This will be the first, I told you guys the other day, this will be the first Christmas where my mom's not really with us. And and seeing my dad and my sister and I are going to all be there, but it's going to be very different. It'll be very hard, but I want to create as much goodness as we can. I'm just glad my son loves them and he loves to go. And so he never pushes back. He's always, when are we going to go? And he's less high maintenance. I'm so grateful. I got a kid that is not high maintenance. He doesn't require, he doesn't have to have all of this and we got to go here, we got to go there because I put enough of that pressure on myself. He's like, Mom, it's just fine. Well, let's just chill. It doesn't have to be like, and Oliver was like that. So I think he was good because I grew up, my mom wanted everything perfect. I don't know if your parents were like that, but my mom had hosted the Christmas and we had literally desserts from one end to the other, like all different kinds. And everybody came to our house. So there was always constant people and it was super fun. I just loved every bit of it. And this is just so different. It's a stark contrast. But Ryder didn't really know all of that because he was so young when his dad died. So it's been very different for a long time. So he says, I kind of like it. It's chill. Everybody just hangs out. But I feel like he's missing out on lots of cousins because his cousins are all older. So I think it's the pressure we put on ourselves.
Yeah,
but we have to remember that we're not them.
The kids are going to be just fine. I think, I did put a lot of pressure on myself, especially when the kids were little. And I think that people just need to keep in mind, a little bit of magic goes a long way. If you can get that elf out, half the week, if you can remember to put a carrot by the, by the fireplace or I know we haven't or if you're doing Hanukkah, I guess you have to do all the nights of I don't know, maybe you miss a night.
You can't miss a night of Hanukkah.
Okay, you can't miss a night of Hanukkah.
That would be like, miss Christmas night. It's fine.
Just do your best. Or light 2 candles the next night. I mean, that was where I was at for a lot of my early grief journey. Like, we missed that, if I'd been doing Hanukkah, I would have just lit 2 candles the next night and just moved on with it. Because the kids aren't paying that much attention. They just don't. Just be in the moment with them. Do the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. And and the big kids, they give you a lot of grace. I think what's been really nice watching Mike grow up is they have a lot of empathy for me and they have a lot of appreciation for, all of those holidays that I did still, provide for them and make fun and still doing the gifts and the wrapping and all of it.
And you have really
stocking.
sweet kids. That's a gift.
And that's my gift for the holidays. Is
it
like,
is.
oh, look, they appreciate all of that.
Although, do they get y'all gifts?
Yeah.
Do you need me to have a conversation with your kids, Whitney?
No.
Ryder goes on Amazon.
It took some, like,
there were some years when they were young where other people would take them to go buy for
That's
them,
what happened.
right?
Yeah.
And others would step in. But
Yeah.
then they
That
kind of
little.
got to a point where like the older one would be like, hey guys, let's all get together and get mom something.
yeah,
Right.
That's what, like, my sister in the beginning would text the boys and be like, did you get your mom anything? Or, you
My
want me to
kids are
get something
broke.
for them? But now they,
Hey, they're working.
now
They
they
are
do it on their own.
But I can say, Holly, Keira, Whitney, and mine, our kids are really nice to us. I mean, truly, that is a gift. I have some friends that are having some real issues. It doesn't mean we don't have issues with our kids. Things come up, of course. They are human and we're human. But as a general rule, they hug us. I saw your sons the other night. Your son
they're
came home the
huggers.
other day and he came over there in front of all of us and was hugging on you. And I know yours better than probably anybody's, but I've seen your sons do the same thing. And it's really sweet.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of kids that give their parents a lot of trouble. So that is all the gift I need. I think it's nice. And I'm glad my son does remember that because I keep thinking, hopefully it's training for his wife because she might be really mad if he doesn't give her something. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to stay in a state of gratefulness that if that's what I get, that's huge. That's going to make me cry.
Aw. Well, what is like one of the things if I was thinking about how to take the ho hum out of the holidays, like if you're down in the dumps or something, is there anything that does just kind of bring Christmas cheer? And for me, I force my kids to do karaoke because I love karaoke. So something like that. Or we used to watch Elf all the time, and that's a fun.
That is
We
fun.
we also
always
watch. I
watch
think
that.
Elf. I think Home Alone. All
Yes.
those. Really,
those are all
movies.
good.
We
Yeah,
always watch
have a
all
movie
those.
night. Just little things and driving around and seeing the Christmas lights with hot chocolate. It doesn't have to be a trip to Costa Rica. It doesn't have to be a
Although
huge...
that is nice.
Oh, listen, I would take that over
I'll
hot
go.
chocolate.
I feel
in the
attacked.
neighborhood.
I think doing a charity too, that's something that we've always done.
Yeah.
Find a kid, like I'm sure,
Super appointment.
whether you're a
important.
church
Yeah,
or
you
a
grab the family off the tree.
Yeah, and it's fun to go with your family and have the list and the ages of the kids. You adopt a little family. I know the Statesman will have a list of families that you can adopt, or like Blue Santa.
And
is
what
another
better
one.
way to take you out of the blues, literally,
That's so true.
than to do for someone who's struggling more than you are? So that in and of itself is a gift.
If
So
you're by yourself, you can also do like an open house just for your
invite
neighbor.
us.
Yeah, and invite us. And you just
We'll come.
put some stuff in the crock pot, like some pulled pork or something, and have some mimosas and have an open house from 4 to 6. And people just stop by and, eat a candy cane and drink some wine. No?
No, it's
No,
a great
I
idea.
think
I think it's a great
idea.
idea.
I love all
I'm
of
like,
it.
maybe
I
I'll do
think
that.
everyone.
Yeah,
I think there's no
it'd be
wrong
awesome.
answer.
I mean, I think a lot of people go, oh, I don't ever throw parties. I threw one last November, and I used to do them like every year. And even after Oliver died, I always made it a thing to like try to throw a party every year because it brings people from all the disparate sources of the people you hang out with. And a lot of my friends got to know each other and they're still hanging out, which I think is really cool. But I think it's important to people just, even if they come by for an hour, that's kind of
Yeah,
fun.
well, that's the great thing about like an open house is there's not a
pressure.
set time, and you just
I
have
might do
your
that.
holiday music on.
Something
and
really
you should.
easy. I should. We
And
could
you can
do a
have-
little
you can
thing
hit
where we go to
a
different
couple in one
houses. Wouldn't that
day.
be kind
Yeah.
of fun? A
Progressive.
progressive. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, progressive dinner. So I would encourage people, that's the other thing that you can do. If you're in a funk, get out anyway. Don't sit in your home just in your funk. Go look at Christmas lights.
Or go invite
walk.
someone over.
Yeah. Go walk and knock on your neighbor's door and say, I'm lonely. No, don't do that. I mean, maybe do that.
Maybe.
Not in Texas.
Yeah,
You might
maybe
get
not.
shot.
That's true. Kira, you have, a partner now. Does that change? I mean, I'm sure it does change the grief a little bit, but that doesn't mean you don't still get sad or miss Frank, right?
Yeah, it's super nice, but it doesn't mean that I don't still get, I don't want to say triggered, but I guess that's a good word. Like sometimes I still will have, obviously a memory, and I do get sad. And I think that's, something else to keep in mind. Brendan is really aware of that. He's aware that sometimes I do have some grief that bubbles up and memories that come, like with anything. And he's very patient and understanding of that, because it doesn't mean that I love him any less. It's just
exactly,
you're still loving that other person. And it's sad for me that he's missing out on his kids all grown up and all these moments and these holidays and these special times. So.
And you can still feel for your children as well. For yourself too. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
You can make space for that. But also you'll always feel for your children.
Always.
Regardless of where your heart is, you'll always feel like they've missed out on that experience with their dad.
Yeah, it's you're now kind of carrying like multiple different kinds of emotions together through the holiday. And I think that's true for everyone. I mean, I think when you have little kids, you're still, even if you've just lost your spouse, you're still giggling and laughing over them opening up their presents. And there's still joy in them, going through the stocking, and there's, eating the pancakes and getting the syrup all over the pajamas and all the things that come with it. It's all there wrapped up in one, like just highly charged emotional,
right?
Omelet.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening in, you guys. We would love to actually hear from you, what you think about what we're doing, what you'd like to see next, because we're always looking for how we can best serve you. So thanks again, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays.